Okay, hi everyone. Hope everyone is having a lovely evening. I have with me two fabulous, experienced surrogates, and we are going to have a great conversation tonight about the ins and outs of surrogacy. So, my name's Hannah. I'm with Family Source Consultants. I am a one time surrogate. I delivered my first journey last July, actually, so it's almost been exactly a year. And now I am heading up some of our marketing initiatives, specifically around social media and educational outreach. So that's a little about me. Desiree and Lexi, can you go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us kind of where you're from, how you got here, and a little bit about your surrogacy experience?
I'm Desiree. I am from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I am also a first time surrogate. I started this journey in May. And when I decided to become a surrogate, I knew I was completely done having kids. Completely done. I have three beautiful kids, but I always felt I wanted to give back more. I'm a huge believer, and I believe that God is allowing me to use my body as a vessel to help create other families. So about my journey was my grandma had passed away October 31st, and her last thing she said to me was, a life's being taken so you can give life. Now, this is before my transfer date, and I'm like, because she's supposed to come stay at my house with my mom to watch the kids while we go for the transfer. And I was like, huh? So, we went out for the transfer on November 9th exactly. Um, it was crazy because I knew I was pregnant instantly. I don't know about everybody else, but I've had like the crazy symptoms like right away, like throwing up. Um, I had a headache, my back hurt, I felt bloated. Um, every pregnancy symptom there is, I had in that 7 day time frame, and it was crazy because then it stopped, and then it all came back, and then it stopped. Um, so when we first went, positive, yay, which I knew. I just had a feeling that I was going to be pregnant and what my grandma had said. And it's been a very fair and very easy journey, actually. I can't sit here and complain and be like, oh, it's been the easiest pregnancy out of all three of my children. I am kind of jealous because I'm like, wow, I did not have none of this um, with my kids, and it's just been amazing, honestly. Like the weight gain, even I don't know if people talk about that, but even the weight gain has been just my stomach and, like, obviously my face. But like with my kids, I blew up everywhere. So to have that in this journey, I was like, wow. And I chose Family Source Consultants because I really researched a lot. But when I was looking at like the reviews, you could just tell this was more family oriented. I'm not going to say not every other agency isn't, so please don't take that wrong. But you can just tell it wasn't a place that just cared about the parent. You could tell it was a place that also cared about their surrogates, how they wanted to feel, and going through like even stuff when you think you're a first time surrogate and you're questioning things like, am I doing the right thing? Does this sound right? Do I not, upset the parents? Um, so just to have even your case manager just help you with that is honestly amazing. So this has probably been for me one of the best experience I've done. And like I told everybody and I post everywhere, I'm gonna do as many journeys as God allows me to. So if that's 4 or 5, whatever the limit is, I'm gonna push it that far.
So, Desiree, how far along so this is your first journey, and how far along are you?
I am currently 39 weeks pregnant. I am due next Friday, July 28th. So you can
You
come to
think you're going to make it?
hopefully his parents are on the way. So as long as he comes by Saturday, we will be okay.
Perfect. Well, that's great. And just to reiterate for the folks watching, this is a live session currently. It will be recorded so anybody can watch it later. But if you're watching us live right now, you can add a question or comment to the chat, and we're able to answer your questions and see your comments. So feel free to type that out in the chat, and we'll be able to get to anything you have that's a question for three surrogates, really. So Lexi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are in your surrogacy experience?
Yeah, so my name is Lexi and I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm 7 months postpartum. It flew by so fast. I'm considering my second journey. My friend from Family Source, I actually met her through Family Source. We're the same age. We're in the same step of the journey. She's starting her sibling journey, so I just thought it was so cool. But I'm still thinking about it. So why I decided to become a surrogate was I had so many friends and family who suffered from infertility and conceiving children and building their families. So I always understood that hardship it took on their lives. And I loved being pregnant too and being a mom. I actually started seeing ads pop up on Facebook about surrogacy. So I started looking more into it, and that's how I decided. I definitely wanted to help build another family for other people.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of a common thread that I've seen in people who decide to become surrogates is this kind of desire to help other people. And I know Desiree, you spoke to that as well. Were there other factors that led either of you to surrogacy?
Honestly, like she said, one of my friends, they have had multiple miscarriages. Um, ooh, we have a storm here. Sorry, y'all. um, so just seeing the will of her like keep trying to have multiple babies and she couldn't, that breaks your heart. And it just pushed me to want to do more. Um, Honestly, if I could, I would carry everybody's baby to make everybody happy. But being only one person, you honestly can't do that. So I just want to give somebody what I already am, but I just want to continue to keep giving somebody the love that you have for your own children.
Yeah.
I love having that, hearing mommy even, and going through all that. So just to help a family finally get something that they couldn't get themselves is a very, I don't know, a wonderful feeling. I don't know how to express it, but it brings me a lot of joy in life. I don't know how everybody else feels, but it just brings me a lot of joy that that I did something and I actually feel like, wow, I did something amazing.
Yeah. Lexi, I mean, you spoke to this already a little bit about the factors that led you to become a surrogate.
Yeah, so it definitely being able to help another family, I felt like it would be easy for me, especially I was working part-time at the time, and most of the time I was a stay-at-home mom. So thinking of bringing, surrogacy into it, I thought it would just be really easy and natural to do for another family.
Did you find it was really easy?
Yes, because I had so many support around me, friends and family. So I feel like if I didn't have that support system, yes, it definitely would have been hard. But everybody around me, they were helping me, and then my kids were a part of this process too. So it was just so special for them to bond with the intended parents' family. My daughter's the same age as their other daughter that they conceived naturally. So, my intended mother, she had cancer, and this is why they needed surrogacy. So she needed her brother to donate to her, so that's what was such a big. As soon as I read their profile, I just broke down in tears. They were the first profile that was sent to me, and it definitely felt like a calling from God for me personally, because I felt it in my heart that I really wanted to help this family out.
Mm.
Just seeing them bond, he's 7 months right now. It's just, and watching him grow up, it's just like the best blessing to ever see.
Yeah, so we had one question from somebody who's watching, and that's, do you have contact with your intended parents after birth? And is that a requirement, or is that kind of vary by person? So Lexi, it sounds like you do have contact with your intended
Yeah,
parents.
so we're really, really close. And you see all these, like, celebrities or surrogates. So you think it's going to be like, you think like celebrities, they really bond with the surrogate, or is it just like, a job that they do? And I was also worried about that. I was like, am I going to actually bond with a family I'm giving birth to, or is it just going to feel like, a job? But when I got further along this process, I really bonded with this family. And some people, they choose to not do that, so you can choose to, if you just want it to be not bond. But once I realized, like, I do actually want to be close to this family and, build a relationship with them. We do so much. I talk to them every single week, and then also I'm going to see them in 2 weeks for my son's birthday. And and then I'm going to see Sion, who's 7 months old now, and it's just such an amazing feeling. So I keep in touch with my intended parents. It's a great, 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 great experience for me.
And Desiree, can you talk about your experience then with your intended parents, like what that relationship looks like?
So with my intended parents, I had 3 profiles to choose from. And as you're reading, I was really stuck between the two. My spouse, my kid's dad, his dad had died from cancer when he was 21. So she's very private about her stuff, but she also is a cancer survivor. She, praise God, this year was 10 years of clean of cancer. And she's waited a very long time to be a mother. Um, so when we've seen their profile, that stuck out to us the most. I'm not saying everybody's profile isn't, but that just was, as Lexi said, God just was like connection. And they also spoke on their faith. I believe that when you have the same type of faith and you both believe in God, it will also make your relationship better. So when we did the intake of meeting before, you agree, like, this is who we're going to deal with. Within 10 minutes, we both like wrote and was like, okay, that's who we want. We're good to go. And I was antsy to get her number to start building a relationship. And they want you to wait till legal. So once legal started, she texted me like instantly. So we had already had a relationship from way before legal was even finished. And we've been in contact since then. She's no longer like just an intended parent to me. We have like a really closer bond, and maybe we're too open with each other, as not all surrogate intended parents and surrogates are. So we are very open, and I know they do eventually want more children. I don't know how it's gonna go, but yeah, I do believe that I will be able to see the baby, as he grows, but I don't want to make them feel like they have to show me. But we have a great relationship. I think we talk like every day. I don't know how, but every day, and she'll even call me on the phone. So yeah, we're very close.
Yeah, and I think it depends, right? I think it's very dependent on the intended parents and dependent on what the surrogate wants too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so like that's a match point. So when you're having those match conversations and trying to find somebody or a couple that's a good fit for you, I think people should be asking those kinds of questions about like what type of relationship are they looking for and what do you foresee this looking like in the future. So I know that's something that like I specifically matched on. And actually, to be honest, like, so I'm again about a year postpartum now. Our relationship now looks different than what we had talked about it looking like when we matched. But that's like life happens and stuff comes up, and that it can go a different way too. And so I think just staying like open to it. You're like I remember when I had my first child, everything gets turned upside down. So you just never know. But I definitely had a wonderful relationship with my intended parents, and I can relate. I think for what, like, Desiree, you were saying, like, it's just when they've gone through so much to have that baby, and you get to be like a part of that journey. It's just, there's no words. Like, what are there words for that? There are not. So it's wonderful. Excellent. So, okay, so we talked about matching a little bit. How did you find an agency? Desiree, I know you talked about this a little bit already about finding Family Source. Like, literally, were you just Google searching out there? Where did you start?
So honestly, this sounds crazy. A long time ago, I think I only had my oldest son. So I was probably like only 20. And I remember I had tried to be a surrogate then, but it completely crossed my mind when I came to Family Source. And I had seen somebody say they just had the embryo transfer. And I said, oh my gosh, completely forgot that I've ever been interested in it years ago. Like, let me start looking. So then I seen who she tagged, and I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So, then you start Googling the name, right? You start Googling the name, looking at reviews. And then when you see all the positive reviews, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm done searching. So I saw somebody tag Family Source Consultants, and I never went back. So I don't know if that's normal, but it sold for me.
I don't think there is a normal way.
Yeah, it's had good reviews. You could tell, like I said before, you can tell that they care about their surrogates, not just the intended parents. And that part was a big consideration for me. Because, the intended parents are the ones that are, investing so much into it. So just to see that they take, like, the surrogate's feelings and everything, and how well other and former surrogates have expressed, like, the company was, I was like, this is it. This is a family-based surrogate company, and you can just tell, especially when you become a surrogate, you can feel it with your case manager.
Lexi, how did you find Family Source?
Yeah, so I was actually, it took me a full year to actually decide to become a surrogate. So when I finally, talked to my husband if it was okay with him, and then my friends, like, what they thought, because it took me a really long time to decide to finally do this. And then everybody was on board, and they thought would be a wonderful idea. That's when so within that year, so I finally started applying for these agencies, like these Facebook ads that would just pop up. So it was like 3 to 4 agencies. So every single time I was approved for each one. But the thing is they didn't respect, like, my personal medical choices, what I believed in at the time. And so I was like, there's hundreds of agencies out there. Is there one that, like, respects what I believe in, what I want to medically do with my body, physically, like all of these things? Because this is when after COVID was happening and everything. And so I finally found Family Source, and I applied for them, and they were the only ones who actually respected and honored my personal beliefs mentally and physically. Because I also wanted an agency to accommodate me in Florida, because all these ones I was gonna travel really far. So Florida, they had a Family Source in Florida, so I didn't have to travel anywhere. My intended parents are in DeLand, so that's near Orlando. So I can do everything in the same state, as a mom of 2. And then I was also, like Desiree, trying to find something that was reputable and had positive journeys. So when you're looking through all the reviews and you see proof that people have had positive experiences and journeys, it really, really wanted me to choose Family Source out of all of them, because there was 3 to 4 agencies I applied for. And I just wanted all the, no loose ends, legally, financially, and professionally, from start to finish, which is, if you go independent and do this independently, there's a lot of things that can get, messed up in the way. But I knew Family Source was going to, professionally be able to handle everything.
Yeah. So you mentioned some of those stages. Somebody asked in the questions, do you feel like legal is the hardest part? So I think that's an interesting question. And I think it depends. For me, so I have kind of an interesting story about this. So I first actually matched independently. So I was not with an agency yet at all. I was just in one of those like local moms Facebook groups, and somebody had posted there that they knew somebody looking for a surrogate. And I was like, oh, I thought about surrogacy. That sounds interesting. So I reached out and said, sure, I'll sign up and do that. So I was going to go independent because I didn't know any different. I didn't know what the difference was. I was just like, these people need help. I would like to be a surrogate. This sounds good. So without doing any research or anything, I just like jumped in. We kind of did the steps a little backwards. So we started doing like medical things and stuff like that. Like I got medical clearance, and we hadn't touched the legal stuff yet. And actually, they had already ordered medication for me and everything. Medication was like at my house. I was ready to start the IVF meds. And then we got to the legal part, and everything fell apart in contracts because we couldn't agree on some of the terms because there was no agency that was like a go-between. And the intended parents kind of had a different take on some of the legal items than I did. But again, none of that had been like vetted at first. I didn't know anything different. So that actually all kind of fell apart at legal. So I would say in that situation, legal was really tricky because it didn't end up working out. But then I, signed up with Family Source literally the next day. I submitted an application, and I was matched pretty quickly because actually my intended parents were with the same clinic that I'd already been medically cleared at. And then we got to legal pretty quickly, and legal was like a day and a half. It was the easiest thing. It was so simple. We agreed on all the things. I think I looked over a draft of what the attorneys had written up, and I said, yep, this all sounds like what I want to do. Everybody signed off, and we just like kept it moving. So in my experience, I've had both, where it was both the hardest part in that it completely made the whole arrangement fall apart, and also the easiest, kind of most enjoyable part where you get to like figure out some of those details and make sure that everybody signs off. And for me, it just brought a lot of like peace of mind and security. So I really liked legal when I like had the right match and the right agency. So I'm interested to hear, Desiree or Lexi, kind of, did you have a similar experience, different experience?
So with mine, I'm gonna say it was kind of both, like you said. For the most part, I was more of a I'm gonna do whatever the parents will want, because like I said, I have this mindset, it's not my baby, it's theirs, so I want them to be as comfortable. I'm gonna say it was my attorney that put a hold on a lot of stuff. He was like, "No, yeah, I'm not letting you agree to this. Absolutely no, no." And I was like, "Oh, okay, huh." And he was like, "We're gonna push this back. We're not." I'm like, "Oh, well, I'll just do whatever makes them happy." So for me, I was okay, but my attorney, I think it depends on who you have to voice for you. He was the one that was like, "Absolutely not. We're not agreeing to this." I was like, "Oh, okay."
And
So
that's huge to have somebody in your corner who can stand up for you like that.
yeah, so my legal, I think, took like the full 6 weeks, honestly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens too. So both of my story and Desiree's story are both normal. Like there's no one size fits all for legal, for sure. Lexi, how was your process? Oh, sorry, Lexi, you're on mute. We're all muting ourselves because I know that there's an echo when like one of us speaks. You can hear it in the other ones, but it does take a little logistics. Okay, Lexi, go ahead.
Mine definitely took a while too, waiting for the lawyer and then what the intended parents, wanted to do. But, that I feel like the back and forth, that's what it was about. But it was only towards one topic medically. Like I said, COVID was during that time period, and it's just something that I personally didn't want to do. So I don't know if I should discuss that. But that was even, brought up in the before I matched, when I signed with Family Source, this was the reason, because they were respecting my personal belief. So I know what their lawyer did was they added on like that I was gonna do, this certain thing, but then my lawyer had to say, I do not want to do that. So she was amazing. She's dealt with plenty of surrogacies and adoptions before, so she's knows about this. So I mean, they finally came to an agreement and it was fine after that. So that, I mean, I think that was the only difficulty for me, was just, having everyone respect. I want to respect the intended parents, but I also want to respect like them, wanting to understand what I want to do with my own body medically, because I wouldn't even do this with my own children. So I'm so glad it was able to come to an agreement with that.
Yeah. And I think that's perfectly, like, I get the hesitation of not wanting to like share your personal beliefs and all that. Like, that makes sense. But I think the cool thing about matching is that like there really is somebody for everybody. So like for me, I am completely vaccinated all the way and wanted to be in a situation where somebody else matched with me on that. And then we have folks who are the complete opposite way, who don't want any sort of vaccinations at all and want to match with somebody who are in the same boat. So and that's, both of those answers are fine, which I think is a great part of surrogacy too. Is there's, as long as it's usually not the agency, it's usually the clinic, right, who has the regulations, but different clinics have different regulations, and we all got to be surrogates. So I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Now, we did have another question come from the folks watching. And again, if you are watching, we are going to wrap up in a few minutes, but if you've got another question or two to sneak in, you still do have time. So what can a potential surrogate do to ensure that their journey goes as smoothly and positively as possible? So what types of things do you have in your control to be able to do that? Lexi, what do you think? And then I'll go to Desiree.
I would say definitely sit really long and hard to think about if this is what you really want to do. Discuss it with your family and friends. This is not like an overnight decision sort of thing. So just see your current situation, if there's like any areas in your life that can interfere with you, beginning a surrogacy journey, because it took me an entire year to actually move forward with the process. So join all the surrogate groups. You can, like, I joined so many Facebook groups, intended parent groups, IVF, and then just make sure to have so much support. So that's definitely what I would do, to see if you would be ready to become a surrogate. And you have to know in your heart this is what you want to do too. Don't do it. You have to really sleep on this. It's not an overnight decision.
That's fantastic advice. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for surrogates, and I think that's huge. Yeah, take your time with it and get that support. Fantastic points. Yeah. Desiree, what do you think as far as what makes it easier?
So I agree with Lexi. You definitely have to have support. That support, I think, is going to be the main thing to make your surrogacy journey easier, because if you, well, yeah, I had to travel. So if you're like me and you have to travel, you have to have that support to watch the kids when you leave, be there for the shots, because sometimes, if you're on, when you're doing your medicine at a certain time, you got to stick to that schedule. And you are going to be pregnant with somebody else's baby. So it's just, if you don't have that support system, I think that won't make it as easy. And you can't just be like, oh, I want to be a surrogate. You, like Lexi said, you really have to have the heart to be a surrogate and really sit down and be like, is this something when I say mentally, is this something I mentally can handle even after the baby is born? Because if you mentally are not strong enough for that, I don't think that it would work out, because you're giving birth to a baby and they're taking the baby. So, and honestly, you just have to have passion. You have to have real like passion for people and their situations, and just have an open heart, because there's different reasons why every person is in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very open to the intended parent. And I believe if your heart isn't able to understand other people's stories, that could trouble it too. But I think those are the main things.
I think those are wonderful points. And I think you're speaking a lot to empathy, it sounds like to me. Like, that's such a huge part, I think, on both ends. Like, the amount of empathy and trust that have to be part of the process is just, I mean, again, I cannot compare it to anything else, truly. But it's really, it's like a human experience that not a lot of people get to do. So I think it's very cool. So thank you for speaking to those points. And I mean, this feeling of afterwards too, Desiree, you haven't quite made it there yet. You're like so close. But Lexi, afterwards, did you have any feelings of like, I would like to keep this baby, or maybe I should have my own baby, or like, was it truly just like a feeling of love and care for your intended parents? Like, what is that like afterwards?
Yes, because it's the main question that everyone asks, like, how does it feel to give a baby to somebody else? For me personally, it was obviously the best part of the whole journey because that's like, what you waited for this entire time. What have I been saddened? I mean, no, because this is what the parents have waited for so long. And I, it was in the process of thinking, should we have a third baby? Should we not? So I just had a baby for somebody else, and I was just thinking like to do that for another person, it was just an incredible experience. It was actually Christmas Eve. So that's when I went home. So it was like one of the best experiences of my life. And I still keep in touch with them too. So it's not like, I feel, disconnected from that experience. I'm still so connected and watching him grow up. He just went to the beach for the first time 2 days ago. And, I'm still so connected with them. I think the thing is if they just cut me off and I never talk to them ever again, that would definitely be hard for me. Like personally, I know some people, it's easy for them, I think they prefer it that way, to just do it like that. But for me, like to have that connection, it makes it so much better for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because if they didn't talk to me, I would definitely feel like, a little lost.
Mm-hmm.
But they share everything with me. His first time he eats, first time he crawls, like, so it's a great experience.
It's very cool. Yeah. And again, everybody's experience afterwards is different. But I will say for me, like that hormone drop, Desiree, this is good advice for you specifically because you will be experiencing this like in a minute and a half, it seems like. But the day two, for me, there's like a drop in your hormones that like took me by surprise. I was not expecting it. And so I think just knowing that that's coming, I was never like sad that I was missing a baby or anything. Like that feeling never came over me. I wasn't.
Hormones. Yeah.
It's
definitely the hormones.
Just hormones, and I knew it. It's literally like if anybody's have a hormonal experience in their lives, it feels very much like that.
That's what I forgot to say is I definitely had some postpartum, anxiety.
Sure.
I wouldn't say depression symptoms, but when I took the test at the OBGYN, they said it was in that category. So, they offered medications and all these things, but I was like, okay, because I know what this is. It's a hormone drop, like what you said. So I was just like, okay, they're going to check on me in 6 weeks. They recommended a therapy. They're like, you just had somebody else's child. So your body like naturally, knows that it's supposed to be like taking care of a baby right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was just trying to, you can't really snap out of that, like, hormonal drop. It's just a natural feeling. So I just had to do everything possible because they recommended medication too. So I did everything. So I just ate right, went to the gym, did everything that made me happy. And then in 6 weeks, I went back to normal. But if I didn't really try hard to do that myself, maybe I would have had to take medication. But I was able to, do these things. And then when I took the test again, I was like a complete different person. So I'm glad they told me I was like off track. And like I do need to take care of myself because I just had a baby for somebody else. Like even though I'm saying like I'm fine, like naturally your body just knows.
Mm-hmm. And some people do those things. They go to the gym, they eat right, and they still can't get it all back together.
Right.
So then I think just listening to yourself and your doctors is really important.
Yeah.
So that's. I mean, thank you for sharing that experience because I think a lot of people are like, oh, afterwards it was just sunshine and roses all the time. And it's not.
I definitely went through that. Went through that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I know we got to wrap up here in a second. We do have like one more question was about polyps. So did either of you like have any issues with your medical clearance to start, or did you just like get cleared right away?
I got cleared like right away. So no. The process, how you go do the base, what do you do before you go and get the medical where they check to make sure you're not ovulating and stuff?
Oh yeah.
That was my issue. I was still ovulating while on medications. So I had an egg that was releasing. So we had to move my transfer date like a couple weeks forward because this egg was just coming out of there and I did not understand. So that was my only thing. But once I got to medical clearance, it was clear as can be, and process went fast.
Yeah. Lexi, did you have any issues medically, like up front?
No, it was pretty, smooth sailing for me as well. I didn't have any issues. No.
We do have, so there is a surrogate support group that's really active on Facebook, and it's just for people who have already signed up for Family Source. And I know that there are people in there who have experienced polyps and all sorts of other medical issues that have come up. And so if you have specific questions about stuff like that, I know I've seen those questions come up and people answer them all the time. So I would highly recommend checking that out. But it is, we're definitely at time, and so I could have this conversation with y'all forever, but I know, Desiree, you've got a baby to go have a little bit. We had a Q&A a few months ago, and we had a surrogate on there who was, I think she was like 38 and a half weeks pregnant, and she was like so done with it. We did this, and then that night, she went into labor. So Desiree, you can keep up that trend if you want.
I'm trying. I've been sitting here like low-key having contractions. So I've just been like sitting here. I'm like, I'm just gonna smile it through and just talk.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll have to keep us posted, and we'll definitely post on our socials about the exciting stuff coming up for you. So, and we will definitely connect and share more. Speaking for the group here at least, and I know we have other surrogates as well, we're thrilled to answer any questions anybody has, talk about this sort of stuff. We're all kind of open books about it. So if you had a question and you're watching and want to ask any one of us, please feel free to reach out. We are happy to connect with you. So thank you all so much. I appreciate your time tonight. And thank you specifically to Desiree and Lexi. You all are the best. And I wish you the best of luck in the next couple of weeks. So much excitement going on. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.